It's my song! Let's sing it! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Come on! It's gonna be fucking awesome! You know the words! It's gonna be fucking awesome! That's it! Sing! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Yeah!
How's it going, everybody? It's me, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. Good to talk to you again. How you doing? I'm doing great, except I kind of threw out my back this morning. I went to a chiropractor who got me pretty straight, but as soon as I sat down later on in the day, the situation worsened. So if you hear me wince or anything during the course of this show, it's because I tried to kind of make myself comfortable so I could do the show, but I'm definitely feeling a little shitey. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm looking at my sound here. It seems like check. Maybe it was a little quiet. Maybe that's a little better. Oh, fucking hey. So, I don't know if you've been paying attention. It's just also funny to me. I really want to give some perspective to those of you out there who aren't deeply familiar with the various fandoms. You know, maybe you're a big geek on one level or another, but you're not necessarily a geek on, case in point, Star Wars. So, if you're not a big geek Star Wars-wise, and I'm not either, actually, I'm more of a Star Trek guy, but Star Wars is like the one that started it all. The franchise maker, you know, the thing that could sell merchandise. The thing that, you know, turned films into franchises and intellectual property into a thing, you know, where we could take this intellectual property and we can put it on blankets and we can put it on towels. And there is like sort of a next level thing, you know, when your film or your show or whatever is something that, you know, people start showing up with t-shirts on and shit. Like, you know, you could see the strength and power of the Stranger Things franchise when you see so many kids walking around and adults walking around with the Stranger Things t-shirts on. You know, you could feel that impact through the merchandise. Now, there's a tricky situation with existing intellectual property is that all that merchandise exists already. You know, there are probably billions of Marvel t-shirts or DC t-shirts or Star Wars t-shirts and existing merchandise out there already. There are millions of fans already. Like, so there's an idea that there's millions of fans. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to believe me, and I'll give you plenty of background, but like, this is not debatable what I'm telling you here. But those millions of fans that Star Wars automatically has, they're not there anymore. The ones who were most committed were the most outraged, the quickest, and bailed the fastest. There's a handful of them following along with some of the hardcore Star Wars fan reviewers that are currently they're trying to cancel online. I'll talk about that in a second. You know, who are still like watching these things, just kind of whatever. And there are a handful of total innocents who have been following this stuff for a long time, and they just are very innocent watchers and they just like the thing, and and that's fine. It's fine if you like the thing. I've enjoyed some of it. I think we all can agree generally that Rogue One was fucking great, and the first two seasons of Mandalorian were awesome. I really liked Andor. I haven't really enjoyed much of anything else. Even though I've liked a lot of cartoons and stuff, Bad Batch is a little disappointing. The design for the animation for the Star Wars stuff has been really terrible. Sorry, that's another side quest. The Star Wars fan that people just imagine exists doesn't really exist anymore. One of my best friends, Aaron Sparrow, he's a huge hardcore Star Wars fan. I got into Star Wars because I love him, and I wanted to be into Star Wars because he loves Star Wars. And I, but I was never really drawn to Star Wars, and I kind of got into Star Wars with Disney Star Wars. Like I'm like, oh cool, gives me an opportunity to get into it with my friend. And at the time, it wasn't necessarily the kiss of death that it became, it came to be. And Rogue One was huge, gave huge hope to me. That movie, I think, looks beautiful. The ending is so cool with Darth Vader. I think I like all the characters a lot. I like that robot. I think is really funny, and largely the whole movie, really works for me. And Andor is definitely enriching the experience a bit because I think the character that I liked the least was the Gabriel Luna character. So this is at least giving some I don't know, some backstory to where he was, how desperate he was, the world he was living in, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking forward to watching the second season of that. That's going to be the last thing I watch of Star Wars personally until something major shifts. But I got into Star Wars for Aaron, and then as I was watching it deteriorate, I'm like, oh my God, did you see this? Did you see this? Aaron was one of the first friends of mine who was like, nope. And I'm like, no, you didn't watch? Are you gonna? Nope. He really largely stopped buying things, stopped watching any of it, and that is the majority of the hardcore fandom. And you want to know how I know? Toy sales, man. Just go. There's plenty of metrics for this, but you just have to be somebody like me who cares about toys, pays attention to toy websites and various things, what's being released, how much in a year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a ton of different metrics that you could use, but it's very easy to see from things. What is it? Peg sitting? They're stuck on the peg. They're peg rotting. I don't know. There's like a saying when they're stuck on the pegs, and that's a peg sitter or something like that. And the Star Wars brand is just like dead as far as all of it's concerned. They had a mini sort of revitalization when they had Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian, and they had some things to push there. Quickly a lot of that energy went away with the whole Cara Dune situation and Gina Carano, which is just like if you're out there and you never heard the reality of that situation, let me please reasonably defend Gina as like a super fucking liberal person. She said something that I have said many times before with this whole stupid, crazy demonization of all Republicans and all Trump supporters. Like I'm not a big fan of Trump, even though now that RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard are going to be working with him. Those are my two favorite people or they were on the Democratic side of things. And so now maybe I guess I'm not mad. If they get elected, because I would love to see Robert Kennedy and Tulsi do some good in the world, because they both have great heads on their shoulders and want to do good things. I mean, like, if you don't know who I'm talking about, go look them up and you'll see I'm like my heart's in the right place. I just want good things to happen, and I just don't trust any of the candidates. But I think it was really a sign of good faith bringing in Robert Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi, and I trust those two. So if they're saying they trust the situation, I'm an idealist. I'm hoping for the best. So we'll see what happens. But the idea that we're going to demonize all these people, they're Nazis, and like, this is clearly untrue. Perhaps there is some sort of small delegation of fucking Nazis amongst the group who happen to be Republican, whatever. And I mean, the group of people who are supporting Trump just grows every day, and it's so many black people and there's all sorts of people who are in support. So it's just a really silly argument. And it's, diminishing to the conversation, as a whole. Why was I talking about that? Oh yeah. So Gina, she was making a comparison to, how do you get people to round up a whole bunch of Jewish people and put them in internment camps? You demonize them. You demonize an entire population of people, and that's how people go, oh yeah, lock them up. And that is absolutely the type of conversation that was happening at the time that she was responding to about Republicans. And I agree. I had said things like that too, that this is exactly, you can't boil people down to just like some silly little label. I've always said, like there's good people in bad neighborhoods, there's bad people in good neighborhoods, and there's good and bad people and bad and good people. It's like there's you can't just go, oh, Republicans, round them all up. Like, wow, that's crazy talk. And I mean, like, that's like just every freaking, all the reasons why, there is a liberal group of people, that I include myself in, even though I don't jibe with the Democratic Party, is because of dogmatic religious people who were telling us we were going to go to hell because we were different and things like that. And I mean, like, fuck that shit. That kind of attitude is what led to this kind of attitude. But this kind of attitude is the fucking pot calling the kettle black. This is just taking it full circle and coming around again and demonizing people and like forcing people, whatever. And I mean, she was making a statement about how that's not cool. And then they were like, how dare you connect Jewish people's sacrifice with the sacrifice of other. It's like, fuck you guys. Like, that shit was insane. And that hurt Star Wars so badly, that thing. We're going to talk here in a second about the softcore fans who I'm assuming are watching more than just the trailers for these shows and these movies, but have watched these films and care about it this much. There are softcore fans and there are hardcore fans. There was a period, probably like 10 years ago, where the softcore fans overthrew the hardcore fans, led by the heads of the studios, who were basically not smart enough to level with us and get down with some of the source material that we were interested in seeing adapted to film and television, and opted for an easier way where they just started to really blatantly ignore the fans and sort of tease and poke the fans. And this went over okay with normies because they were teasing and poking us fucking geeks in high school and middle school. So they're like, oh, well, ha ha ha, yeah, those geeks, they sure are, whatever. And then there was a group of mid-pretty people, I'm telling you, mid-level pretty people who weren't pretty enough to be the high-level pretty people who were vying for the biggest jobs in entertainment news, but represented the casting that you would make for a geek girl if they could become a geek on some level. Some of these girls started gaming. Some got deeper into it than others. Some of these girls started reading a couple independent comics. Some of these girls started getting into one thing or another. And Instagramming and Facebooking and doing all of the things that social media influencers do, because that too became a part of the thing. You want to be a host, and I know this because I am a host. I was a host on television. I didn't want to play these games, so I never, fucking like got it. When it became this, I never did this. So like it was always a problem. It was like, what's his social media? I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that fucking social media shit. Like, I do social media, but I just kind of do it my way. It doesn't involve like trying to hashtag all the right shit and ride the right waves. Like social media is like all about sort of following and, figuring out how to get ahead of some of the algorithms. And I can't be bothered by that shit at all. I mean, like, with this show, I give you information, about geek culture stuff or reviews or whatever on my other podcasts, all your favorite bands suck, music stuff, I'm telling you what albums to listen to or whatever. But I record these shows and then I send them off to the Podcast Playground, and the Podcast Playground, they advertise it. They do all the other stuff. If they need me, I'll write a commercial or I'll figure out something, intellectual that needs to be figured out. But I don't want to fucking sit there and bang my head against the fucking wall with all this fucking advertising shit. I mean, like, I get other people to do that stuff because I think they're better suited to do it. I'm like, I have no interest in that. You know, and I don't think most artists aren't really, you know, we aren't. You know, I like chatting about this stuff because I think it's useful information, and I know that one day, especially as people, you know, get to know my work better and whatnot, people will come back to find these episodes and they'll listen to things that I have to say, and they'll be able to learn various things that I've learned, you know, because it's not like I'm sitting here as somebody who just came into this world and I know everything. I don't, you know, and I still don't know everything. I never know everything, but you know, I've learned a lot. I learned from so many people, so many artists, and so many examples, and so many experiences, and so many scripts, and it's just, it's a cumulative form of knowledge that you get to share with people. But this isn't like really what I was born to do and what like I love to do. I love this information and this subject matter, so I do like to talk about this stuff. So podcasts are like definitely a good thing for me. But I'm just saying, wasn't exactly anything that I pursued or was trying to pursue or thinking about at all. You know, I write comic books, I make music, and then I've been doing voiceovers and hosting for years and years and years. But you know, it was just something I kind of fell into. But in falling into that, I can tell you, like, across the board, you know, the superficial world that you're going into in this hosting world, and how very, very quickly your social media clout became everything about this stuff. And I watched as the years went by, as I was going after lots of geek culture things. And oftentimes I wouldn't get cast because people basically found me unbelievable as a geek. This is the kind of joke of the Coolest Geek Alive thing. Like, I'm too cool to be a geek. I'm not, I don't think that. But you know, there was a certain amount of like, you're a geek, you know, kind of thing. And then also I would get in trouble for revealing myself to be too knowledgeable. I actually had my agents sort of like tell me that going into like another audition a few weeks after a previous one, and well, maybe like 2 or 3, and they were like, you know, maybe don't like, I forget how they put it, but they said something to the effect of like, don't reveal that you know a lot. You know, like, you're a big fan, but don't like go into any detail beyond what they specifically ask you. And I was like, oh, okay. Because usually speaking, I was like trying to sort of like impress them with my knowledge. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, you should totally hire me. I know all the shit. And you know, and they'd be like, oh yeah. But I did definitely start to get the idea that maybe the producers didn't want somebody who knew more than they knew. And a lot of the producers who were being hired, I could tell, you know, because I was really genuinely passionate about this. So I would, you know, talk to them and whatnot. And they weren't usually. I can remember one time. I don't know the person. I think that person too. Was it Mike Rotman that I met, or no? I feel like I met Mike through another friend of mine. I can remember one time going to an audition. I don't remember the details, but where I was like, oh, cool. Like, these guys actually seem to like know what they're doing, like understand geek culture and like are geeks. Every other one, and I've been on dozens, I was always sort of got the sense that like they only had like a superficial understanding of the thing. And that has seemed to be the attitude in Hollywood in general, that like the best person for the job of translating geek culture stuff to mainstream people was somebody who didn't understand it, which I think is just like the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just like understanding the thing. Like, I love to be a gateway drug for other, you know, people, for people to get into heavy music. You know, all your favorite bands suck is really like a gateway. I'm your gateway to get you in. If you like popular music, I'll get you into the best stuff that'll make you like all these bands so that you can get in, you know, to a wider variety of genres. And like in science fiction and fantasy and whatnot, you know, I feel like these genres are marginalized, and I really try to be like the zenith of the genres, so that you can just constantly demonstrating how powerful they can really be when executed the right way. So this is all to say that these fake geeks who looked the way the casting people wanted them to look, how they imagined these geeks to be, and these people, wanting to be credible, scrambled to learn as many things as they'd like. But I'm very inquisitive. I really enjoy these hobbies. So whenever I was on these auditions, I would, sort of like, it would be, oh yeah, what are you into? Bah, bah, bah. And it was always apparent very quickly they weren't into much. They didn't get anything. I put them on the spot. They had their one answer prepared. And then once I got beyond that one superficial answer that was meant for the casting person, they didn't have anything else to tell me. And I'm not going to name names and make anybody feel embarrassed, but I mean, like, there's like plenty of people who I know personally who are up for shows that I was up for. There's one person who I was the host of AOL Music's Top 11 Countdown with Egypt. And Egypt was she was one of 3 girls who were up for that position. I was cast as the boy, and they were figuring out who the girl was going to be. And there was 3 ladies, and one of the ladies I met, and let's just say she was not a geek at all, any way, shape, or form. I had talked to her interests and stuff. She was into like performing and some of the things, whatever else. And she was rather bland, if I recall. And then I see her all these years later, and now she's a geek girl, and she's hosting a major geek thing, and that's still her brand, and that's still her thing. The rise of branding yourself around something, and the rise of girls branding themselves around something that is largely a boy-oriented thing in order to profit off of the boys in the space is a very real thing. Now, I'm not out here telling you that, you're a girl out there and you're like, oh, I know there are real geek girls. I consider myself a little bit more than a girl than a boy. So, and I love comic books. So like, it's like, and I love geek culture, and like, this is my favorite shit. So I know, and there's plenty of people who I've played D&D with, and like, girls across the board. Like, there are tons of fucking cool girls out there who get it and are geeks. I'm just saying, a lot of them in the mainstream who are on social media, who are these influencers, they were more interested in the influencer part than the geek thing. It's easy to sort of dress a certain way, style yourself a certain way, and appeal to a certain fan base as a geek girl. The amount of really credible geek girls in the space is small. There are some. And there are many outside of the space. And most of those are on the side of the fucking fandom menace and the people who are real fans. Because we don't like any of this fucking representation. We like Jennifer Walters the way she was. It's so crazy to think that like they would go out of their way to besmirch such a great fucking female character in the Marvel Universe. And, it's like, I don't even think that they knew that they were doing anything wrong. I don't think they read any of those comics. I don't think they gave a shit. I think they just went, what would a She-Hulk be like? And from their perspective, that was it. As opposed to, when you adapt Harry Potter, you adapt Harry fucking Potter. When you adapt She-Hulk, you should be adapting She-Hulk. And Jennifer Walters is a great character. It's been written and drawn wonderfully by so many great creators. And they just went and did whatever they wanted with the thing. So, whatever. All to get back to this fucking fake-ass fandom that has been created. Now, there's a combination of things going on here. The influencers are, what do you call it? They are incentivized to like the films and the TV and support the studios because they want to be on that Christmas card list. The one where they get free tickets to screenings of Star Wars films and Disney movies and Marvel movies and Pixar films and everything else. They want to be members of the Access Media. this access media thing is really tricky. You know, most people don't have any loyalty to whatever. They just want to be considered more special than their friends and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's really just a silly status thing in a lot of cases. We've talked about before about like the tomatometer and whatnot, and how the tomato system is being gamed in so many ways by them opening up the pool of reviewers to all these influencer reviewers. So now, I mean, literally, like, people could be getting paid off for all we know for, like, you know, the people who are on these lists on the tomatometer to get the reviews, to get the reactions that people want. Now, so this is what we're talking about, is like an incestuous thing where, like, as George Carlin once said, you know, when the interests align, you know, there doesn't have to be a formal conspiracy. Okay, well, interests align. Studio wants good reviews and support, and a general support and general support of anything they do. And then the people, they want access, and they want to be able to keep posting pictures of themselves flying out to Hollywood for that premiere of that movie and showing everybody how cool they are, and they're keeping up with the Joneses and all this shit on social media. So you've got this incestuous relationship right there. Okay. Then you also have the fact that many of them are fake fans. And fake fans is just one little part of it. Fake fans, people who are just like sort of doing the thing because this is like the niche that they fit into. They got cast this way. They're not really fans, but they're doing the thing and whatever. Some of them are jumping into it earnestly, and they are fans, and they really do like these games, and they've become fans or whatever. But they're not fucking professors at, you know, doctorates in these things. They're not discerning fans. They're not people who you put in like if we filled up a room with people and we went, who should we put in charge of watching these 100 movies and boiling it down to like the 10 that all the rest of us should choose from, because we know some of these movies aren't going to be good, and we all want to watch like the best movies we can. All right, you know, in the back of the room, Jeff. All right, Jeff, come here. You know, all right, no. Stacy, come here, Stacy. You can watch them. You guys watch all the movies. It doesn't have to be a boy, is what I'm saying. You know, but it's just, there's like a right person for the job kind of thing, and they're not the right people for the job. They are the right people for the establishment. For Disney, for these production companies, they are the perfect people. They're the perfect reviewers. They are fair weather. They're not particularly passionate. They don't really care. Most of them continue a path of sort of mocking the passionate fan. That's been the thing that like pisses me off to the highest degree. Whenever I would be asked, why do you care so much? And because I would always go, why don't you care more? And, you know, that's like the thing. The people who care have been outmatched by these people who don't really care that much, or are so new to it as to not really know deeply enough any cardinal sin they might be encouraged to support in the name of their corporate overlords who are keeping them going to premieres and shit. And, you know, some of this fandom, you know, are like the people responsible for canceling Gina Carano. And for no reason. Her post was very meaningful and a thoughtful post about something that was going on. It was a unity post. At a time when they were trying to cancel the Republicans, she went, hey, don't do that. That's not cool. Think about it like this, you know. And she was right and cool. It was a cool post that she made. And they went after her and, you know, rode her out on a handcart and got her canceled and got her thrown off of the Star Wars thing, kind of derailed the whole Star Wars, everything positive that was going on with Star Wars with Jon Favreau. Just derailed all that shit. And, you know, and Star Wars has been left in ashes. Now, continuing on to today, we've got the Star Wars Acolyte show, which had been taken off, like merchandise was taken out of the store, and a couple different things had happened that had led people to believe there was a chance that it might get written off because it was a very expensive show and it wasn't doing very well. And then there was like this petition that came back. Of course, it's not a particularly impressive petition, to bring back the Acolyte. And along the same time, there's this huge push to cancel Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and Star Wars. I forget what people, but a whole bunch of YouTubers, who and a bunch of them I watch regularly. I watch a lot of YouTube, or I should really say I always watch it, but listen to it a lot of times. But that's kind of how I get a lot of my information in shorter term bites. But I got to switch to podcasts because like it's really aggravating having to keep switching over and over from one show to another. And like I've been getting aggravated lately. I've been thinking maybe podcasts are for me. Not just doing them. I need to listen to them as well. I just need to find the good podcasters. If you've got a good podcast that you think I would like, please recommend it to me. You can email me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. And thank you again for everybody who helped out with funding Fucking for Our Future. We're starting to get into printing. And really big things coming for Blacklight District Studios. If you go to bldsts.com, we've got back issues of our first Kickstarter, King of Kings, up now. And go order them and help me pay for my Shopify store because we only just put it up. Anyway, back to the main story. So there's a group, I forget what they're called. There's something about Ripley, I think, like Rewriting Ripley. I don't know why you want to rewrite Ripley, but they want Nerdrotic canceled. They want all these people canceled. They're saying that they're racist and homophobic and bigoted, all this stuff, and they are absolutely not. They're totally comedians, in various degrees of deadpan and whatever else. Trolls, you could call them at the very least. But I mean, Nerdrotic is fucking hysterical. I look forward to every Nerdrotic video. He just nails it every time, and nails it in a way that is hysterical. So I mean, to sit there and go like, it's like, they just don't like that they're echoing the sentiments of the audience and they're trying to quell this thing. And I think honestly that so much of them trying to get these other people canceled is actually led by the studios. I think the studios are encouraging them, paying them any number of things to try to go after these people because they feel that basically they're leading the charge and making a conversation. But dudes, it's not going to happen. Like, this is just, the conversation echoes on down. If Nerdrotic wasn't around, other channels will rise up to fill the space. This is not them amplifying a minority. This is them being the voice, the head of the snake that you were fighting. A hardcore fandom who cares about the source material, who's read the extended books in the Star Wars universe and so many other things that, have peripherally involved the extension of the mythos in Star Wars. There is a story. There are many stories that are there for the telling that Disney Star Wars has failed to tell, has been sort of cannibalizing in various ways, and they remain there to be done by somebody, but really, like, everything that they're doing right now needs to be kind of crumpled up and done away with. It would have been one thing if they did their own thing and it was wonderful, but they did their own thing and it was divisive as hell, and really sort of missed the point. I mean, especially by the end, I think everybody agrees the Rise of Skywalker is fucking awful. It's like, I kind of like Last Jedi, but I see what everybody else saw when we saw that movie, that like this is going to be a real problem for the third installment. That second movie derails everything. So these fair weather fans, and I won't call them fair weather fans, let's call them softcore fans. These softcore fans have seen the movies. Some of them, I think, have just gotten a bug up their ass about their perception of the fandom, and they want to change the fandom. And doing it through Star Wars, doing it through these comics, by championing these gay writers and these black writers, and like, for me, it's like, that's racist. Even like boiling people down to that. Like, I want to champion great writers, and like, I want to be colorblind. Just like, hand me the book, let me read it. I didn't know what color anybody was yesterday, and I found myself to plenty of great female writers like Marjorie Liu was great, or black writers like Christopher Priest, who's fucking awesome. They're just, the list goes on. There's so many, and so many people who I didn't know they were black. I only found out they were black years and years later. I'm like, oh, they're black. It's just, and that's how it should be. That's how it should be. You're just a writer. You're just a vessel for all these different characters. What does it fucking matter? So, this new world led by a lot of more liberal people who responded to the charge and the call to action of, the force is female and things like that. And some of them are sort of, are women. And then, who were like, yeah, I get this, but like, they're not deeply into Star Wars. They've gotten into Star Wars. And that's not a crime. It's not a crime. But when you've gotten into Star Wars and you have friends, we'll call the fandom your friends, fellow like-minded people who also like a thing, but there's a consensus among those who have read a little deeper and have been fans a little deeper, longer than you have, that things are amiss and they're not really handling things with the love and respect that you'd like. And you begin leading the charge going, you guys are passe, you're not rapist, you're racist and you're sexist and you're whatever else. I mean, really? Like, do you have a leg to stand on? You're not you're only so educated in the subject matter, and people who are more deeply into it are telling you this is ruining it for them on some level. And you're like, well, it's not ruining it for me, so fuck off. Like, is that lame? It feels lame to me. It feels lame to me. And that is kind of what has been going on across the board with the softcore fans and the hardcore fans. The hardcore fans have researched more deeply. The softcore fans and non-fans and executives and whatnot who don't want to know anything beyond what they fucking already know, they're shortchanging the hardcore fans and making their complaints and their desires unimportant, boiling them down to nothing. And then what they have left when they do that is the softcore fans. Now, the problem with this, as Star Wars for certain is learning probably the most, is that softcore fans don't buy merch. They don't. Maybe there's some who buy a little bit of merch, but even most of those merch buyers are buying an individual thing or an individual character. They're not people who are deeply invested in losing themselves in escapist entertainment and deeply learning about and understanding worlds, cool worlds that have been designed, for us to explore. They're enjoying the superficial entertainment and then connecting to the superficial things that they're connecting to, like, some badass character, some sexy character, fucking Baby Yoda, whatever it might be. And that's it. They're not going as deep as the hardcore fans. I got news for everybody. You don't want softcore fans. You want hardcore fans. In fact, there is no such thing as softcore fans unless there are hardcore fans. Softcore fans don't exist in fandoms that are, like there's no softcore anything. Softcore fans don't make a franchise. Hardcore fans do. Softcore fans spring up after the hardcore fans become displeased. And now you have a softcore fandom who does not as deeply understand the subject matter as the fucking hardcore fandom. And they are canceling and fucking yelling at and stomping all over the people who have been loyal and paying fucking good money to these franchises and these corporations, all these fucking people for years and years and years. And now these softcore fans who aren't fucking loyal to you, corporations, they're not fucking buying things. That's what you got left. And all of these franchises, it's all coming down. It's all coming down to the ground because you are leaving yourselves with the softcore fans. And new fandoms will rise up. We'll find new things to like. You know, they are destroying everything with the same sort of superficial attitude of we don't have to respect the past in any way, shape, or form. On with the future. You know, the center of the universe is me as the creator here, and I'm going to just do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I hope you like it. And then, you know, we don't, and they're like, well, you're a sexist, or you're a racist, or like, dude, like, fuck you. Fuck this bullshit. It's just, it's insane. You know, this has to end. You know, Marvel and DC, you know, like all these companies, they're going the exact same way as this. You know, my prediction right now is that, you know, we are at the end of the squeeze with the Marvel universe. I'm optimistic that I will be proven wrong. I swear. But I think Deadpool 3 was probably the last good Marvel movie that we will ever see for quite some time. And, you know, and ultimately I think that every hardcore fan is going to be more and more sort of devastated by various choices that are made on lots of overall levels. And once this crossover phase is done and they get through like using Hugh Jackman for all he's worth and using Tobey Maguire for all he's worth, and whatever's going to be left of this Marvel universe is just going to be in fucking shambles. You know, the thinking that is happening right now with the production, they are purposefully, and this has been years and years now, they are purposefully hiring people who are not fans. Like interview questions, and I mean, you know, like, and I've gotten these questions before at various times, where, you know, like it was clear that they didn't want you to be a fan, and like I don't think they want me. You know, like they asked me a question that made me think that like they don't really want somebody who actually like reads, you know, the comics or whatever it might be. They are actively looking for fresh takes on these ideas, and plenty of these ideas are ready for intellectual adaptation and should be. They've sold these already to people who really like them, and if they made a movie about that thing, then all of those people would be like, oh my god, it's so good, and they made it into a movie, and the movie's just like it, it's really great, and you should go check it out. Like, that's when things succeed. That's how Lord of the Rings became such a great big success. You know, Peter Jackson honored Tolkien's work. Fans saw what was going down. They were like, this is going to be amazing. It delivered. Every fucking audience went, it's the greatest fucking movie I've ever seen. The next audience came and said, it's fucking incredible. It was even better than I said it was. You know, I was like, that, but they just honored the thing. They brought the thing to life. They didn't reinvent it for themselves. And that's a lot of what's going on. Personal politics and all politics being brought into the entertainment just constantly. So aggravating. You know, and this idea that, you know, this group of fans is going to cancel Nerdrotic. I mean, I don't believe that they're going to be able to do anything. But I mean, it's like fucking, it's free speech, it's comedy, it's so many different things. I mean, like I urge you to go watch some of Nerdrotic's biggest videos. Just, they're funny, man. Very funny. He's very funny. And he's a real, true blue fan. He owned a comic book store. You'll see his room. His room's decked out with toys and all sorts of stuff, all the different fandoms that he has. And, you know, he's a knowledgeable dude who fucking understands this stuff and loves this stuff. We don't want it to suck. He doesn't want it to suck. We want it to be good. We're complaining because we don't want it to be, like, shitty ever again. But you don't listen to us. So, like, it keep coming back. And we have to keep talking about the different ways in which it's shitty, you know, and me personally, I kind of came on to podcasting because I felt like a lot of people just weren't talking about it the right way, and it was making people turn off to their conversation, like a Nerdrotic or Geeks and Gamers. And I do understand why some people were getting turned off to their conversation, but really, you know, it's just I think a lot of people are detached from the reality. And it's really easy to see general consensus amongst fans for various things hanging out on the internet a little bit. It's not terribly difficult. Granted, it's getting more and more difficult because the various companies are, getting into the systems, and whether they're making extra accounts or, paying the various platforms to favor them in one way or another, or do a little favor for them for a couple weeks, hold back the customer reviews, or for a couple weeks hold back the critic reviews, or whatever it might be. But there is so much incestuous control going over all this stuff now. It's getting harder and harder to actually tell. The one way you can actually tell, following great real fans on podcast forum or YouTube or wherever other else place that you might. It goes straight to the horse's mouth. What do you think about this shit? I think it sucks. Well, there we go. He's been reading comics and stuff for 40 years. He thinks it sucks. And, well, what did you know? There's a lot of other people in his comments and everywhere else who are like, yes, I feel the same way. So, meanwhile, though, as you have all of these mainstream, they are mainstream, these mainstream geek culture websites, which are the real mainstream geek opinion. You've got these mainstream entertainment people purporting themselves to be geeks, trying to cancel them, trying to shut them up because they are the voice of the fucking people. And like, if you don't agree with them, that's fine. But like, you can't deny that is the consensus reality voice. They are seeing a pattern of DEI, shit that is bothersome to them and feels unnatural. They're feeling like the lore is not being honored. This goes across the board. Every fucking, Star Trek. They're not friggin' honoring Gene Roddenberry's positive vision of the future with Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery was the last thing I watched from J.J. Abrams' bullshit. That first fucking pilot, I wanted to vomit. A black ops vision of the future. No. They're trying to say that in the positive vision of the future that Gene Roddenberry created, the human beings are still just as fucking shitty and deceitful as they've ever been. It's the worst. It's the worst thing that's like ever been done, as far as I'm concerned, to a pop culture property. Broke my heart. Love Star Trek. Killed me. And that might seem overdramatic to you, but I'm a big Star Trek fan. Star Trek really means something to me. And Star Wars really means something to a lot of other people. When you adapt these things, it's like adapting the fucking Bible. When they did that friggin' Noah's Ark movie with Russell Crowe, so many of the religious people are like, this is bullshit. That doesn't, this isn't like any sort of accurate depiction of the fucking thing. The story's been told for ages. Why didn't you tell the story? And the same thing happens with comics and, video games or books and anything that you might be adapting. The fans are there. When you unify the fandom, that unity just gets thicker and deeper and grows, and people feel like they know each other and understand each other because they can communicate through stories of characters outside of themselves that they're drawn to and others are drawn to too. It's a wonderful thing. The more these myths get taken apart and what's the word that they always like to say? Not decompressed. Just where they just sort of like, I want to like revitalize it for a modern audience kind of thing. But, just taking it apart, dissecting it, I guess, in various ways. Dissections can be amazing when there's a very intelligent doctor dissecting. When the doctor doesn't know what they're doing, dissections are fucking terrible. And there's a lot of doctors, quote, quote, doctors, writers in Hollywood who don't know what they're fucking doing. And, writing is my thing. I've spent my whole life learning to be a great writing music, writing comics, writing poems, writing scripts, writing pitches, writing speeches and essays and articles, and just so much. I mean, just anything that you can be writing, I've written. And I've won awards for my writing, many awards for my writing, for all sorts of different things, whether it's poems or song lyrics or songs, like recorded songs. And had my one act play that I wrote in high school performed at the thing. I'm just adding that as like a silly little. I've really just written anything you can think of. I've probably spent some time writing it. And studying the concepts, what it was that I was doing, so that I knew what I was doing and that I could do a good job. And writing is what all of these franchises need and are missing. What they've been replaced with are a lot of these softcore fans in forms of the professionals, people who are sort of superficially interested in working on Star Wars or whatever. I'd love to put my spin on Star Wars. After seeing J.J. Abrams, after seeing Rian Johnson's spin on Star Wars, like this sort of thing, where they're inspired by sort of the recent things as opposed to being sort of children of film who grew up with Star Wars and read the EU comics and know the deeper storytelling and want to tell the story of Mara Jade and fucking Luke Skywalker and their kids, and like that would be incredible. That's what we're looking for. My company, Blacklight District Studios, I'm looking at a whole bunch of different licenses. There's basically one company that I might be able to get a ton of licenses through, and we're going to be doing our best to find creative people who are passionate about some of the characters and, in this case, films that we have access to create, some comic books from. There's some characters that I think would be really cool to see in ongoings. And if I were to do it, I don't want to just hire a bunch of people to do the thing and without any passion in it. I'm going to be looking for people who have a passion for the subject matter, the deepest passion I can find. A softcore passion is nice, but it doesn't sell merchandise. The hardcore passion sells the merchandise. The softcore passion, as we see right now, is capable of chasing off the hardcore fandom for once and for good, and leaves you with a bunch of people who they're going to leave you high and dry. They're superficial, loud, and noisy, and maybe they'll watch your Acolyte, but nobody else is. And the Acolyte has the worst ratings of everything. I called that Star Wars was dead months ago now. I knew Acolyte was coming. Ahsoka's response was, I stopped watching. I didn't watch Ahsoka. She was too stiff. I was really disappointed at a lot of levels. But that was it for me. I was done right prior to that. And then nobody really watched Ahsoka, and I said, okay, it's done, because the next thing coming is this Acolyte thing, and people really are not interested in that. And nobody watched it. It's the lowest rated of any of the things that they've ever done. And there's this small group of softcore fans who are like, we want the show. We like the show. The millions of people who were buying your merchandise yesterday don't. The millions of dollars that were being spent on your merchandise yesterday aren't. The millions of viewers that you had yesterday aren't there. These loud, noisy, softcore fans on the internet are going to be the death of every last franchise. And I don't even believe that a lot of these loud, noisy voices on the internet are even real people. It's so easy to make as many accounts as you need to make and have them say as many things as you need to say. I saw a video the other day of this setup that was set up of basically social media posting through hundreds of phones at once, all hooked up to a wire, so that they would post on one phone and it would post on all these different phones through different accounts all at once. That's a lot of reach. I think if that person could do that, other people have been able to figure out how to do that probably even easier using computers. I mean, it's the world that we're living in now, guys, is just so easy to manipulate. You have to use your gut, and you have to be able to trust the people who actually buy comic books, buy toys, buy merchandise and statues and all this shit, follow along with what's going on at these conventions and everywhere else, and know the temperature that the room is at. I know the temperature of the room. They're not winning, man. They're losing. And there's like a tiny, noisy group of people who are like acting like they're running the show. And it's crazy that this has killed the franchises. And there's more to come. There's more to come. All this shit is going down. And, little things that people didn't give time of day to will rise up, and independent things that are good will rise up. But, man, I believe we will continue to see the destruction of various important intellectual property for, I don't know, at least the next few years, because there is seemingly no signs of stopping in Hollywood right now. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, my fellow geeks, coolest geeks, I should say. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. You've been helping us grow between this and the music show. I think, I've been telling you, we're like well over 1,100,000 downloads every month consistently now for a bunch of months, and still going up a little bit every month. So thank you guys so much. We're starting to get consistent sponsors, and I hope you'll support our sponsors whenever we have them, because it really does help us to continue to grow the show. But I love you guys. I hope I'm here speaking sense and speaking truth from a middle standpoint, and that you guys are hearing where I'm coming from and recognizing that I love everybody, and I just want us to get along and be able to get through all this stupid politicization of all the things that we love, and get back to an honoring of great writers and great science fiction and great fantasy and great worlds. There's so many great ones to behold, and just like to be trying to re-terraform the ones that we don't like from yesteryear, because there's just too many white dudes in this script. It's just, you gotta move on, man. We're like kicking a dead horse. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I really do. And I hope you'll join me this Saturday for an episode of Coolest Geek Alive. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but I'm going to figure it out soon. And again, this coming Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Love you guys. Care Bear Story. Peace out.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Week after weeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Laughing with you! It's gonna be fucking awesome! And crying sometimes too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Spelling it out! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Making you shout! be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. This one passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.